newest band I played with was Moby Grape.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, we're kind of an underground band to this day. You know, I think musicians know about us. Musicians that are pretty good players all respect what we did and how we did it, because we could all. I think it was the first band where everybody played, everybody wrote music, and everybody sang, and everybody did it with skill, and it was like, it was magic. I mean, that was a magic time when we first got together, because there was so much energy and the world was changing and there was so much excitement. Music was like evolving from the 50's, which was a mishmash, to where all of a sudden there was a consciousness, and it seemed like music was becoming something that young people all related to. And they didn't want their parents' music anymore. They wanted what was happening, because it reflected all of the changes that were going on at that time, which were monumental, politically, spiritually, every way you can think of, things were changing. The thing that would be different from today, big difference, is that everybody listened to the music on the radio. And so there was the top 10 and the top 20 and the top 100, and it was kind of a big switch from the big bands into, kind of real corny popular music, to all of a sudden you're hearing this kind of like sounds coming out from, from black players, and from, actually like Elvis kind of was the first white guy that started playing, black music.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, yes, that's right, Elvis Presley.
And all of a sudden we would hear all this music coming out that was like really, really great. But the interesting thing about it was that if I'm listening to some songs in Seattle, the top 10, they're listening to the same top 10 in Tennessee and in Texas and in New York. So there was a common thread. So everybody had a common experience. So you would see and hear the same things, whereas today everything is so sliced up that there's no real common experience. That's how come you could have a record and have it be a hit, and it would be a hit everywhere, because the same record would be played here as it would be in San Francisco. So there's a big difference between the way that music is kind of sliced up now, to where people find what it is that they like, as opposed to a common experience. But even in that common experience, there was hip music and music that was not hip. As Ray Charles said, there's good music and there's bad music, and that doesn't matter what genre it's in. There's some good, great stuff, and then there's stuff that's not so great. So even in the midst of the things that we were all listening to, you could still pick out. We would play at the Top Hat Tavern 6 nights a week. We had a 2-month engagement. So while we were playing there, we got invited to go down to San Francisco. This is the band I was in called the Frantics. And we got invited to go to San Francisco and play on Broadway. And the Byrds were playing on Broadway at that time. People were lined up around the block to see the Byrds. They were sleeping over manhole covers. The whole place was going crazy. I wanted to be a jazz player really bad. Musicians in Frantics were all kind of jazz players, but we were playing cover songs in a bar. But when we got down to San Francisco, I had already had a headset on my head, smoked a big fat one, and heard the Byrds, and my whole life changed. We all loved the Byrds, so we were excited to be able to be on Broadway in San Francisco and play in the same place and the same time the Byrds were. Jerry Miller and I came down from Seattle together and from Tacoma, and we ended up. I mean, we're the best. We're the best of friends to this day. And so, but we wrote a lot of music together. Sometimes I'd come up with words. Sometimes Jerry would come up with words. And I didn't. I was a drummer, so so I would just simply hear it and say it should go here, and we could sing this part. And then he would go, okay, here's the chords, and then we would, he'd bring in an idea. Like for instance, I got a ticket. I got a ticket for driving with a suspended license, and I think my plates didn't have proper year on them. So, anyway, I had a nice checker wagon and got pulled over and got a heck of a ticket and had to go to court, right? So I went into the court and sat there, and it was my day in court, and there was a young woman, true story, young woman that was right there before I was seeing the judge, and the judge said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, Your Honor, I got pulled over and I had a suspended driver's license." And he said, You've had no priors, and you've got your license up to date, and he said, so it's no problem. We'll let you go. You're free to go. Just don't do it again. So I got up and I said, yeah, well, Your Honor, I was suspended license, and I think my tabs were not up to date. And he said, well, he looked down at his little ledger again. He goes, okay, well, that'll be a fine of $350 and a suspended sentence of 60 days. And if you're caught doing anything of this nature again, that sentence will not be suspended. You'll have to spend 60 days in jail. Next. I walked down there and went, wait a second. The woman who was up there before me, the lady that was there, she was very attractive. And I'm not saying that he was playing favorites, but it seemed that way to me. So I went back to Jerry. I said, I got a song, man. He said, what is it? I said, I got Murder in My Heart for the Judge. And it was like, got murder in my heart for the judge. It's too bad, something. There's a difference between ambition and greed. Greed is where you make it and get ahead and make money by taking advantage of people. So I think the difference between ambition and greed is you can be ambitious. Ambitious is like the best part of capitalism. It simply says that let's get ahead, but let's get ahead not by taking advantage of other people, but by bringing other people along. We can do this, and here's a great idea, and if we put all of our energy and all of our excitement and all of everything that we can to bear in this situation, we can make it profitable, we can make it fun, and we can make it creative. And that's, if we would have taken that path, there was enough there for everybody.
If you're a writer, go ahead and write. You wanna be a fighter, get in the fight. You wanna be in movies, you could be a star. You wanna change the world, start where you are. Like a dog on a bone, a dog on a bone. Don't let go, don't let go. Like a dog on a bone, a dog on a bone.